Hello, Yankees fans. We need to have a serious conversation about what's going on with the team, because the way things have been handled lately is frankly unacceptable. Let's start with Anthony Volpe, who has been struggling with a shoulder injury since early May. Back then, he felt a sharp pop in his shoulder that clearly affected his ability to perform at the major league level. Yet the organization has continued to roll him out there almost as if nothing happened. It's hard to understand why a player with so much promise, someone who is a top prospect and had fans' expectations sky high, has been left to endure pain game after game without proper attention or care. Now, months later, he's finally received a cortisone injection to manage the discomfort, but this is long overdue. The decision to keep playing him through the injury has had consequences that go beyond just statistics. It impacts his development, his confidence, and his long-term potential. Since that moment in May, Volpe has struggled to find consistency at the plate. His batting average has dipped significantly, hovering around the low .19 ES for a stretch, and even with moments of power, it's clear that the shoulder has taken a toll. He still has pop at his bat. 19 home runs and nearly 50 extra base hits this season show that. But his on-base percentage tells another story. He's walking far less than expected, and it's not hard to connect that to the lingering shoulder issue that has compromised his ability to get fully into his swing or maintain his approach at the plate. Watching him play, you can see flashes of the talent that made him a top 5 prospect back in 2023, yet those flashes are often overshadowed by periods where he looks like a player weighed down by discomfort. It raises a critical question for fans and analysts alike. Are we seeing the real Anthony Volpe, or are we watching a version of him limited by injury? Defensively, the story isn't much better. This season, he has struggled significantly, recording -8 outs above average. And while some might argue it's a talent issue, it's difficult to separate the performance problems from the obvious physical limitation he has endured all season. The shoulder injury doesn't just affect his swing, it impacts every throw, every tag, and every reaction on the field. The Yankees, knowing what Volpe has been dealing with, chose to continue playing him instead of giving him time to heal properly. They have an impressive farm system, and they've built up young players like Volpe with high expectations, marketing them and highlighting their potential, only to risk that potential by not protecting the player. It's a complicated situation because we all want to see him succeed at the highest level, but success can't come at the expense of a player's health and long-term career. Fans have grown frustrated, and understandably so. We've seen Anthony Volpe go from a rising star to a player who struggles to maintain consistency. And while part of it is clearly injury-related, the organization's handling or mishandling has exacerbated the issue. The decision to keep him in the lineup day after day, despite the injury, is hard to defend. It's not just about whether he would have been replaced on the injured list or if someone else could have played in his spot. It's about the principle of taking care of your own. When a player is showing signs of a serious problem, and especially when that player is young and still developing, the priority should be health and rehabilitation, not short-term results. The Yankees' approach has left Volpe in a difficult position, and it's no surprise that his performance has suffered in multiple areas. This situation also raises larger questions about organizational culture and how the team treats its players. For example, looking at the bullpen, the same pattern of carelessness seems to appear. In recent games against Detroit, the Yankees' relievers have been overused and ineffective, with multiple pitchers giving up numerous earned runs and struggling to find consistency. Efforts to address the bullpen at the trade deadline brought in a few players, but not all of them have worked out, leaving significant weaknesses that could have serious implications in the postseason. The underlying issue seems to be a lack of attention to long-term management and player welfare, favoring short-term solutions over sustained development and stability. When we see a player like Clark Schmidt pitching through injury or anticipate that Aaron Judge might need surgery after playing hurt, it suggests a systemic problem rather than isolated incidents. The pattern indicates a carelessness that stretches across the organization, affecting both veterans and young prospects alike. Returning to Volpe, it's clear that the expectations placed on him were enormous. As a homegrown talent from New Jersey, he carried the hopes of fans who were eager to see a local player succeed at the highest level. Early in his career, he impressed in AAA, earned his spot on the major league roster through strong spring training performance, and showed that he could compete at this level. However, the recurring shoulder issue has interrupted that trajectory, and the lack of immediate and proper care has left him struggling with confidence and performance consistency. The highs and lows we've seen this season could likely be traced directly back to playing through pain. Moments of power and offensive production are undermined by low on-base percentages, defensive struggles, and overall inconsistency. The disparity between potential and performance is stark, and it leaves fans wondering what might have been if Volpe had been given a chance to heal fully at the outset. Adding to the frustration, the timing of his temporary absence later in the season seems more related to the emergence of another player at shortstop than to Volpe's health. While it's good to have depth and options in the roster, the optics are troubling. A player who has been loyal, dedicated, and promised the spotlight as a top prospect should not be sidelined primarily because a replacement has emerged. This approach sends the wrong message about the value placed on player development and long-term potential. For fans watching closely, it raises concerns about whether the organization truly prioritizes the welfare of its athletes or merely focuses on immediate results. Volpe's case is a cautionary tale about how mishandling and injury can ripple across performance, morale, and fan perception, especially for players with high expectations. The stakes are even higher because the Yankees fan base naturally sets lofty expectations. With Volpe, the excitement was palpable. He was one of the most highly touted prospects in baseball, and there was hope he could become a cornerstone player. When reality has fallen short of those expectations due to injury and insufficient management, frustration naturally follows. Fans want to see the promise realized, yet the organization's decisions have complicated that journey. The juxtaposition of talent and adversity highlights how critical proper care and timing are for developing players. Not every setback is catastrophic, but when the handling of injuries is inconsistent, it undermines trust between fans, players, and the team. Observing Volpe's struggles, from offensive dips to defensive lapses, it's clear that a more thoughtful approach could have mitigated some of these issues. Beyond Volpe, similar concerns are visible elsewhere on the roster. The bullpen's inconsistent performances, overuse of relievers, and incomplete trade deadline adjustments have contributed to a season filled with questions about strategy and management. The combination of high expectations, mismanaged injuries, and short-term problem-solving paints a picture of an organization that sometimes prioritizes immediate appearances over sustainable player health and development. These issues are magnified when considering the potential playoff implications. If key players continue to perform while injured, it could jeopardize postseason success and leave fans feeling frustrated and anxious. The pattern suggests that addressing health, performance, and depth proactively is essential to maintaining competitiveness and protecting the investment in young talent like Volpe. Watching the team navigate these challenges, it becomes clear that Anthony Volpe's story is emblematic of broader issues within the Yankees organization. His talent is undeniable, his potential high, and his drive impressive, yet the handling of his shoulder injury has overshadowed his contributions and disrupted the expected progression of his career. Fans are left asking difficult questions. Is his performance truly reflective of his abilities, or is it a product of pain and mismanagement? The answers are not simple, but one thing is clear. The treatment of players, especially rising stars, has a direct impact on both individual and team success. Volpe's struggles, while unfortunate, provide an opportunity to reflect on organizational priorities, the importance of proper injury management, and the long-term consequences of carelessness on player development and team performance. Continuing on, the situation with Anthony Volpe is not just about one player. It reflects a deeper problem in how the Yankees manage talent, injuries, and expectations. Volpe came into the major leagues with enormous promise, and fans have been watching him closely since day one. As a top prospect, he carried the weight of hope, excitement, and the belief that he could become a cornerstone of the franchise for years to come. But when a player of that caliber faces a significant injury early in his career, The organization's response matters just as much as the player's natural ability. In Volpe's case, the handling of his shoulder problem has been anything but ideal. From a moment he felt the pop in early May, the team had a choice: prioritize his long-term health and development, or keep him in the lineup and hope for short-term contributions. They chose the latter, and the consequences are evident in both his numbers and his on-field performance. Even with bursts of power, Volpe's batting average and on-base percentage tell a story of inconsistency likely tied to physical limitations. A .206 average with 19 home runs and an OPS of .661 does not fully capture the nuances of playing through pain. Each swing, each throw, and each defensive play carries a reminder of the injury he's endured for months. The mental toll of performing while hurt cannot be understated. Confidence suffers, decision-making may be affected, and even the most talented athletes can see their skills diminish under the strain. For fans, it's frustrating to watch someone with so much potential struggle, but it is equally frustrating to see the organization failing to provide the support needed to allow that potential to flourish. Defensively, Volpe's struggles have been even more pronounced. -8 outs above average is a stark metric, and while some critics may chalk it up to talent, the reality is that playing with a compromised shoulder makes every movement more challenging. Fielding ground balls, making accurate throws, and reacting quickly all require physical precision, and when a player is hindered by an injury, those skills inevitably decline. This is where careful management and strategic rest could have made a difference. Rather than rushing him back into the lineup day after day, the Yankees could have provided time for rehabilitation and monitored his workload to protect both his immediate performance and long-term potential. Instead, we've seen repeated exposure to pain, inconsistent results, and a player who is now unfairly judged for circumstances beyond his control. The broader implications for the team are significant. The bullpen, which has been a recurring concern this season, mirrors some of the same issues seen with Volpe. Overuse, inconsistent performance, and incomplete trade deadline acquisitions have left the team vulnerable in critical moments. Games against Detroit highlighted these weaknesses, with multiple relievers giving up large numbers of hits and earned runs while struggling to maintain control. While management attempted to address these problems by adding new players, the results have been uneven, leaving gaps that could become major issues in the postseason. The pattern is clear. Short-term fixes have been prioritized over long-term stability and care. This is particularly troubling when considering the potential for injuries to accumulate and further disrupt team performance, as seen with both Volpe and other key players. Anthony Volpe's story also underscores the challenge of managing fan expectations. Yankees fans are passionate, knowledgeable, and hold the organization and its players to extremely high standards. When a player like Volpe is introduced as a top-5 prospect, there is naturally a sense of excitement and anticipation. When his performance dips due to circumstances like injury, it can feel like a letdown, even when the player is doing everything he can to compete at a high level. The frustration fans feel is compounded when they perceive the organization as failing to protect its players. Maintaining trust between fans, players, and management requires transparency, thoughtful decision-making, and a willingness to prioritize long-term development over immediate results. In Volpe's case, those elements have been inconsistent, leaving everyone, players, management, and fans, frustrated and questioning the approach. But before we continue, please remember to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the latest news about the New York Yankees. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments. In what could go down as the most sensational off-season shakeup in recent memory, whispers from the baseball world suggest that the New York Yankees are on the verge of pulling off a blockbuster trade that would send shockwaves through Major League Baseball. Sources close to team management claim that Shohei OHTANI, the two-way superstar who has dominated headlines in Los Angeles, could soon don the iconic pinstripes in a deal described by insiders as historic and unprecedented. While details remain sketchy and neither team has confirmed anything, the rumors point to a multiplayer package heading to the Dodgers in exchange for OHTANI, whose rare combination of pitching prowess and home run power has made him one of the most coveted players in the sport. If true, this trade wouldn't just reshape the Yankees roster. It could fundamentally alter the competitive landscape of the American League. The Yankees, known for their relentless pursuit of marquee talent, would instantly become the team to beat, boasting a lineup that could rival any in recent history. Fans and analysts alike are already buzzing about the implications. Imagine OHTANI taking the mound at Yankee Stadium, then stepping up to crush pitches over the short porch in right field. Baseball's ultimate dual threat coming to one of its most storied franchises. Social media is ablaze with speculation, mock lineups, and debates over what the Dodgers could possibly receive in return to make the deal feasible. Early murmurs suggest that top prospects and veteran players might be involved, but nothing is confirmed, leaving fans and experts to fill in the gaps with wild guesses. For the Yankees, landing OHTANI could be the final piece in a championship puzzle that has eluded them in recent seasons. For the Dodgers, parting with such a talent would be heartbreaking, but insiders claim the organization sees a long-term benefit in acquiring depth and future stars in return. As winter meetings approach and trade talks heat up, one thing is certain. If this deal comes to fruition, it will dominate headlines, redefine off-season expectations, and cement this year as one of the most talked about in MLB history. Baseball's rumor mill has never been hotter, and all eyes are on New York and Los Angeles, waiting to see if this mega move really happens. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the New York Yankees, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.